Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Fola. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to draft this beautiful dress. It's a gathered dress with a Basque effect. It's really easy to make and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you'd like to know more about, keep on watching and let's get started. I'll be making use of this chantilly lace. I have about 3 yards of fabric here and I have my lining piece as well. So let's get into the drafting now. So I have my lines here already. So I'm just going to explain to you what I have here. I have my shoulder line. Shoulder to chest line is 9.5. Shoulder to bust point is 11.5. Shoulder to waist line is 17 inches. My hip line 26 inches. Shoulder to the length of the dress is 31 inches. That is where the gathers is going to start from. So I'm just going to label my lines now. I have the shoulder line, the chest line, bust line, waist line, the hip line, and the length of the dress. I placed half of my shoulder measurements on the shoulder line and on the chest line. I'll connect that with a straight ruler. Then I placed my neck width, which is 4 inches, and my neck depth is 4 inches for the front. And I'll connect that with a curve. Then on the shoulder line, I came down by 1 inch, and I'll connect that to the neck width to form my shoulder slant. Then I'll get the midpoint of what I have there, and I came in by 0.75 inch. And on the chest line, I placed quarter of my bust circumference. Then I'll connect the 3 points together to get my hammer curve, like that. Then I'll place my bust pan measurements. Half of my bust pan measurements is 4.5. So I placed that on the bust points line and on the hip line. Then I connected that with a straight ruler. On the waistline, I placed half inch on both sides of the bust pan line, and I came down by 1 inch from the bust points. Then I came up by 2 inches from my hip line. Then I'm going to connect the dots like that. I'll do that to the other side as well. So that is my dots. Then I'll place my horizontal measurements now. On the chest line, I placed quarter of my bust circumference and I added 1.5 inch seam allowance. On the waistline, I placed quarter of my waist circumference plus 1 inch dart intake. I'll add that back. Then I added 1.5 inch side seam allowance. Then on the hip line, I placed quarter of the hip circumference and I added 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect the dots. I'll connect my seam allowance as well. Then for the Basque effect now, I came down by 6 inches from my waistline. This is depending on you. You can make yours more or less. You can decide to maintain the hip line. It's totally depend on your preference. So all I'll do now is to connect that to the length I have there. Then I'll connect that to the length of the dress. So if you want yours to be a sharp V, you can just connect your ruler like that. But I want mine to be slightly curved. So I'll be making use of my curve ruler. So I'll connect that to the length like that. So that is all for my front pattern. You can see it's really easy to make. So I'm just going to label this as the front. Then I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to separate the upper part from the lower part of my dress. So, and that will be all for the front pattern. Then I'll go ahead to draft my back pattern as well. So I have my lines here already. I have the shoulder line, the chest line, the waist line, the hip line, and the length of the dress. And I had 1.5 inches for my zip allowance. So all my measurements will be starting from the line there after my zipper allowance. I placed half of my shoulder measurements on the shoulder line and on the chest line. Then I'll connect that with a straight ruler. Then I placed my neck width, which is 4 inches. And my neck depth, my back neck depth is 1.5. Then I'll connect that with my curve. Then I placed my bust span measurements, that is my nipple to nipple measurements, on the waistline and on the hip line. And I'll connect it with a straight ruler to the chest line like that. I came down 1 inch below my chest line. That's my back. On the waistline, I placed half inch on both sides of the bust span line. And I came up by 2 inches from the hip line. Then I'll connect my dots. And I came down 1 inch from my shoulder line. Then I connected that to the neck width to form my shoulder slants. Then I get the midpoint of what I have there. And I came in by ½ inch. And I connected that with my curve to form my armhole. Then on the waistline, I came in by 1 inch. From that line, I came in by 1 inch. This is to eliminate zipper bulge. I came in by 1 inch and I connected that to the chest line and to my hip line as well. So on the chest line, I placed quarter of my bust circumference and I added 1.5 inch for my seam allowance. And on the waistline, that line there will be my new waistline. So I placed quarter of my waist circumference plus the 1 inch dart intake. I added it. Then I added 1.5 inch for my seam allowance. And on the hip line, I placed quarter of my hip circumference. Then I added 1.5 inch seam allowance. Then I'll connect my dots. I came down by 6 inches from my waistline, just like we did for the front. Then I'll connect that to the length, just like we did for the front. So that is all for the back pattern. So the next thing I'll do now is to extend my lines to the zipper line. I'll just extend those lines I have there. So on the waistline, remember from that line that we came in, I'm going to add 1.5. I'm going to place 1.5 inches there for my zipper allowance. This is to eliminate zipper bulge. So I'll connect that back to the chest line. I'll connect that to the hip line as well. So that is my zipper allowance. So we are going to cut this part out. We don't need that anymore. So we are going to cut out now. So that is all for the back pattern. I'll separate my upper part from the lower part at the waistline like that, just like we did for the front. And I'll just label that as my back pattern. So that will be all for this tutorial. So in the next one, I'll show you how to cut and how you can sew them. I'll be showing you how to cut them on fabric and how you can join your pieces together. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.